So hello guys, and welcome back to the second try of me trying to film a teardown video of this graphics card, because yes, I already did the video, but then my camera decided to corrupt all the footage, so I'm doing it a second time now. So here we have our patient for today, the Zotac Amp Edition GTX 780Ti. This is going to be a pretty standard teardown video, meaning first I'm going to take the card apart, so I'm going to take off the cooler and all the other heat sinking assembly that is on there. Then I'm going to make a PCB overview, and then I'm going to tell you a bit about my experience with the card and maybe some interesting stuff. This one also has a nice story to it, so this video might be a little bit longer. So yeah, let's get started. This is a, as you can see, open air style internal exhaust cooler design. That's pretty simple to disassemble, even more simple than the Gigabyte card, because you only have the 4 screws around the GPU, whereas on the Gigabyte card you would have 3 additional screws for the VRM. You don't have those here because the VRMs on this card have their own dedicated heatsink. So the fin stack with the fans on it only cools the core on this card. So now if we have all those 4 screws out, we can already take the cooler off the card. And yeah, disconnect the fan cable, and here we have the heatsink. Then we still have some metal on here. We have a heatsink for the VRAM, and then we have the VRM heatsink that I talked about. The VRAM heatsink is also attached with 4 screws. Take those out. Actually, I bought this VRAM heatsink. I don't actually know how effective it is. Like, there's no surface area, and even though there is a fair amount of thermal pad under there, as you're going to see in a minute. Yeah, so here we have our thermal pads, and then under there the VRAM modules. You can also see that there's still some dust in there from when I got the card. This one has been in the worst condition so far of all the cards that I bought. I managed to get it pretty clean, but the silicone oil that's coming out of the thermal pads it's a pretty good dust magnet. So I'm not getting the dust out there without risking to destroy the thermal pads, so I'm just leaving it in there. So here we also have the 3 screws for the VRM heatsink out. Also lift that up, and here we have 3 little thermal pads, so for the VCore MOSFETs and then the VMEM MOSFETs. So that's everything removed. If you just want to swap out your thermal paste, you could now clean the die, clean the heatsink here, put new thermal paste on, and do everything in reverse, and you're finished. So now for the second part, for the overview of the card. I'm going to start with the heatsink before I'm going to get to the PCB. So this cooler right here, it works. It works pretty great. We have 5 heat pipes on here, which is 1 less than the Gigabyte card had. We have also 3 fans, just like the Gigabyte card had. Those 2 fans, these are actually completely identical to the fans on the Gigabyte card. So these are just orange, but everything else about these fans is the same as on the Gigabyte card. It's just that you can see by how fast this fan stops spinning. Yeah, this card has been in a pretty rough condition. The center fan is pretty fine though. So this works great, but the two outer fans, they are in not the best condition, but they still work. The card stays adequately cool under load, so it stays below 70 degrees at around 63 to 65 if I remember correctly, so that's fine for a 780 Ti. But in general, the heatsink is not that impressive. So you're going to notice it's a general theme with this card. If you disregard the fact that my Gigabyte 780 Ti is actually dead, the Gigabyte card is better in basically everything compared to this card. So although the cooler is quite adequate, it performs as you would expect, it is just from the mass. It literally weighs only half of that what the Gigabyte cooler weighs. The fans are in worse condition, the fin stack is just smaller, you miss one heat pipe compared to the Gigabyte card. You don't have integrated VRM cooling. Instead I've got this, which is better than nothing, but I really doubt that this is adequately cooling the VRM modules. The VRM heatsink seems fine. The Gigabyte card also has this integrated, the main heatsink. This it seems about fine. Like it could be better, but I think the VRM heat is not such a big problem on this card. So, where we have the cooling sorted out, and now let's get to the PCB itself. So, what we have here is pretty much a reference PCB for a 780 Ti. So, except for the fact that it is a matte black PCB, whereas the normal reference PCB would be glossy black, like my Gigabyte card is. It's pretty much just a bone stock reference PCB. You've got your 8-pin and your 6-pin power connector, you've got the same capacitor layout, you've got the same daughter board with the NCP4008 voltage controller on here. You have this interesting setup for the V-Core VRM where you have 6 inductors but 8 MOSFETs. So there are MOSFETs that are sharing their inductors. Then you have your 2-phase memory VRM, which this is, I think this is actually different from the reference PCB a bit, because these inductors are different. They have the same inductance, they are R33, the reference PCB inductors are also R33, but these use a different package. So these might be able to handle a bit more current, because there is a quite widespreading problem with this PCB, which is used for the 780, 780 Ti, Titan, Titan Black, 980, 980 Ti, and also I think the Titan X. So quite a lot of pretty expensive high-end cards. And the problem is with the memory VRM inductors, because Buildzoid made a pretty good long video about this, where he basically got to a manufacturer's website and searched for inductors that have this inductance and this package size, and he found out that pretty much every inductor that would fit on here is rated for less current than we are actually pushing through here. So this explains why a lot of these inductors just burn out. There are really a lot of cards using this PCB that have burnt out memory inductors. And it's pretty sad actually, because a burnt inductor is not a really big heavy defect. You just have to swap out the inductor and your card will work again. It's not like a blown high-side MOSFET which will basically obliterate everything on the card and make it like just scrap metal. Yeah, this is kind of sad, because a lot of high-end 700, 800, 900 series probably found their way into the trash, being completely fine except for one burnt memory inductor. So yeah, but on this card the inductors are fine. So Yeah, so as I've already said, from all the cards that I got on eBay, this one has been in the worst condition so far. Not meaning that it's a bad condition, it's just in the worst condition, because I think this was just pulled from someone's PC, then packaged up and sent to me, while all the other cards probably went through some form of quality control and cleaning before being sent to me. But I mean, yeah, the card works, and that's pretty much everything I care about. So now let's get a bit into overclocking, because of course I already ran this card and pushed it to the max. I even ran it on the liquid cooler that I used for my GTX 780 for a while, because the whole mounting spacing is the same from the 5 to 900 series, so it fits. And yeah, again we have the theme that why this is a 780 Ti and why the memory VRM is pretty similar. It's using the same PWM controller. It's basically an 8-phase, like you're missing 2 inductors, but you still have 8 MOSFETs right here. So yeah, it's an 8-phase, just like the Gigabyte card. But the thing is just the core on here and the memory on here, which is also Hynix. The Gigabyte card also had Hynix. It's just that, yeah, just like before, the Gigabyte card is just better. The core on the Gigabyte card overclocks significantly better than this, and the memory is also worse. So this core, out of the box without any overclocking settings, it goes to around 1 gigahertz to 1050 megahertz. So about 1 gigahertz, slightly above, which is again fine, I guess, but that's more than 100 megahertz below my Gigabyte card. So my Gigabyte card did 1163 megahertz out of the box, which is possible to reach with this card, but it's not that easy. It's near the territory where this card maxes out. So the core maxes out on 1.25 gigahertz. So 1.25 gigahertz is the max I can push that will finish Firestrike. 24/7 stable, like playing games stable, is probably around 1.22 or 1.23 gigahertz, which is not that much. On my Gigabyte card, that would be less than a +50 offset. So yeah, the core is not great. The ASIC quality is also pretty low on this card. If I remember correctly, it's only better than 15% of GPU-Z's database, whereas my Gigabyte card is better than 79% of GPU-Z's database. So that's a pretty significant difference. And pretty much the same goes for the memory too. Memory max does plus 225 megahertz, which is, yeah, again, it is fine. Plus 225 megahertz, it's, I mean, it's better than stock. So, and since most people don't overclock their cards, you're going to be faster than like most of people with 780 Ti's. It's just that also my Gigabyte card, I started with plus 300, which this doesn't run, not even close. Like the Gigabyte card was, it's quite a long time since I ran my Gigabyte card, but I think it did plus 500, maybe plus 600 on memory. So almost 3 times what this does on the same memory IC. They both use the same memory modules, both have Hynix AFR. Like, I don't know if it will focus. I'm using a different app. Like, my camera is a smartphone, so I use a different app to record the footage this time because I don't want it to corrupt again. Don't know if... Oh, I don't know that's going to focus. I don't... Oh, can you see it? I don't think you can see it. Oh, maybe like this. Yeah, you can see it's Hynix at least. Yeah, okay, so this is Hynix. So overall, how the card performs. Again, it is fine. It's not anything really special. It's not really that great. It is fine. It is faster than any 780 Ti will run stock. But given that this is the AMP edition, so this is the top model that Zotac sold for the 700 series, this is the fastest you could get from Zotac. And to be fair, I could just be unlucky and have gotten the worst card there is for the AMP edition. It's just that my Gigabyte card wasn't even the best that they sold. Probably it wasn't the best. And there's a bit of funky things going around with my Gigabyte card, whereas the box says it's one thing and then it performs like another thing, and the PCB is like another thing, and yeah, maybe I'm making a video about that. So my Gigabyte card might not actually be the exact model that it was sold as, but yeah, so it might actually be their gigahertz edition thing, so it might actually be their top model also. But yeah, so overall the card is considering I ran my Gigabyte card stock for most of the 4 years that I had it. Yeah, so it is fine. The card is fine. It runs. It's a 780 Ti. It does what you would expect of it. It's just not that you would win any overclocking competitions with it. So that's pretty much everything I can say about the PCB and the card. So now let's get into story time. So I got this card off eBay, as I've already said, and it has kind of a story behind it, which makes this card a lot better from my point of view, because I bought this on eBay for 70 euros, which if you go to eBay right now and search for 780 Ti's, the cheapest listings that you're going to find will be at around 120 to 130 euros. So I got this significantly cheaper than any other 780 Ti you can get on eBay right now, which is because it wasn't sold as a 780 Ti. Actually, until I plugged it into my PC, I didn't know that it was a 780 Ti because I bought it as a 780. I paid for 780. I expected a 780. I wanted a 780, but I got a 780 Ti, which is why I'm significantly less pissed than you might think about this card not being such a great overclocker, because I paid literally just a bit above half the price you would pay for a 780 Ti right now. So the guy who was selling this listed it as a 780. The sticker on the back says 780 Ti. If it decides to focus. Autofocus on this recording app might not be. Looks like it's not that great. Come on. Yeah, so it says 780 Ti AMP edition. The eBay seller actually made a photo of this sticker, but yeah, that guy kinda just forgot to focus, so you couldn't read it. So yeah, I am basically I just wanted a 28 nanometer card from Nvidia again to overclock it, because well, my Gigabyte card is dead, and since I got the GTX 780, I wanted something more recent that you could realistically still use on a PC to play with today, because the 780 is, yeah, you really shouldn't run one of these things for gaming. So yeah, which is also because these things are dirt cheap right now compared to this. So yeah, I just wanted a 780 because I expected, and I still expect, that I'm going to break that 580 because before I do any meaningful things with it. So I wanted a second card that I could then also modify with all the knowledge that I gained from the 580. And I chose a 780 for it. And yeah, I got on eBay and looked for the cheapest 780 there was. First, it was going to be a blower 780 from, I think Ammo Trooper 780, something it was called. But yeah, then I noticed the seller didn't have PayPal, so I had to cancel that purchase, and then I got to the next best listing, which was for the exact same price. I would have paid 70 euros too for the other card. So I got to this. So this was, together with the blower card, it was the cheapest 780 available at that time on eBay. And I bought it, and it shipped. And then it was a 780 Ti. So I literally paid for the cheapest 780 on eBay, and I got a Ti. So yeah, that's why I'm not mad about this card. That's why I actually really like this card. So yeah, this is basically the best hardware purchase of my life, because I almost got double my money's worth. So yeah. Regarding future content of this graphics card, since it's not that great of an overclocker, I don't think I'm going to make a video series like 4580 when I get to modifying it. I still plan to modify it one day, but that's going to be in the future, maybe a lot into the future actually, from today where I make this video. Because I kinda have a thing for 780 Ti's where I don't want to break them. So I already have one dead 780 Ti, so I really don't want to break this one. So I'm going to wait for a long time before modifying this card. And considering it's not that great of an overclocker, if I make some overclocking videos with this card, it's probably going to involve below ambient cooling, because I already said I ran this on water already, and it does nothing. Like you can't get a single megahertz out of that core by water cooling it compared to this. So it's probably not a cooling issue. It's probably just the core is just too bad. So you're going to have to upgrade your cooling a lot more to get anything extra out of this core. So I might be doing a below ambient cooling experiment with this card one day, but I can't give you a date right now. I might do below ambient cooling with the 580 soon. For New Year's Eve, I have a friend coming over. We might get ourselves a bag of ice and then chuck it into the ice bucket and try to run the 580 below ambient. That might turn into a video. It might also not. Depends on how it goes. So yeah, we are at 23 minutes, which is actually shorter than the other video. The first take was 30 minutes, and I'm running out of things to say now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Zotac GTX 780 Ti only AMP edition. AMP Extreme was later added. So GTX 780 Ti AMP edition. Not particularly great of a 780 Ti, but for the price I paid, it's a pretty good card. So yeah, that's it for the teardown video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you even watched this far. If you did, nice job of you. I appreciate it. And yeah, until the next video, goodbye.